crazy vintage motorcycle fans, and welcome to episode 19 of A Bike and a Beer, the show where every Saturday I feature an outstanding vintage motorcycle with an appropriately paired beer. If this is your first episode, thank you so much for being here. Feel free to subscribe in that lower corner there. And if you're part of that amazing crew that joins me every Saturday, you're the best. Keep coming back. Thank you. Alright folks, I've got another bike for you caster sniffing two-stroke fans today. This is a 1967 CZ250 twin pipe motocross bike, and it is so cool. We're going to dive into everything about this bike, but before we do, we need a beer to go with it. And if we're talking about a Czech bike today, we better be drinking a Czech beer, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I have here a Pilsner Urquell, which claims to be, and I believe him, is the original Pilsner. Brewed this way since 1842. That's 180 years. That's a long time. Let's crack it open and see if it's any good. I bet it is. Oh, it is good. Tastes very Czech. Yeah, that's nice. Ooh, this will go down easy. Now this bike belongs to my good friend Al Wenzel, who is so generous to let me borrow a bunch of these bikes for this show, and I'm forever grateful to him for that. Before that, it belonged to a gentleman named Don Matthews, and if that name sounds familiar, he was a huge ambassador and just kind of friend to everyone in the CZ world. You'd catch him at almost every race where you could race a CZ, and he was just a really, really good guy. He was such a good guy that after his passing in 2014, the CZ World Championships were revived and named after him in his honor. So they're called the Don Matthews CZ World Championships. If you're unfamiliar with CZ, let's talk a little bit about the company. It's another old brand founded in 1919, and like BSA and Husqvarna, it got started making guns. But after World War I, when gun sales dropped a bit, they started making bicycles. And then in the mid-30s, they started making motorcycles, mostly street bikes at that time, I believe. But by the 50s, they were making awesome race bikes for off-road and pretty rad scooters like this awesome Chazette I sold for my buddy Brad Lackey last year. And they really did well in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, including bringing home 7 Grand Prix World Championships and also winning 15 times at the ISDT. So guys like Robert, Roger DeCoster, of course Brad Lackey, and a couple other guys I can't remember. Oh yeah, Dave Bickers and Victor Arbakov. But these came out, twin pipes were produced between 64 and 67. This is a 67. This is a twin pipe CZ that's set up to race ARRMA. So there's some personal choices on here that Don Matthews made to make his bike the bike that he wanted. Some examples of that are this tank. Now the original bike would have had a tank that looked very similar to this, but this one slimmed down a little bit, and it's made of fiberglass. This seat is off of a little bit later model CZ, and also this rear hub is off of a later CZ, which you can distinguish because it has a bolt-on sprocket, whereas the CZs from this time period actually had a one-piece hub and sprocket. The carburetor on this bike is also a Mikuni. Originally, you would have found a Jaikov carburetor on here, which are actually great, and they put out the most horsepower on a CZ compared to any other carburetor, but they wore out pretty quickly, and there's not too many people in the business of reviving them. So most CZs you'll see Mikunis on. Let's take a look at this awesome 250cc two-stroke motor. Exhaust pipes, party of 2, baby. That's right, 2 exhaust ports here, and 2 exhaust pipes with expansion chambers coming out. These are aftermarket GMC pipes. But CZ put on twin pipes for kind of 2 reasons. 1, they needed to shed some heat off of that cylinder, and 2, they thought they could get a few more horsies out of it. So that's what they did. It's super iconic. Who doesn't love a twin port, twin pipe CZ250? I think we all do. Originally, twin pipes came out with magnesium cases, which is great if you're a factory rider and you don't care about things wearing out or anything like that. So later on, they actually produced them with aluminum cases, like this one here. The hubs were also made out of magnesium, and you've probably noticed that they're gold on most CZs. That's originally because of a chemical that they used to prevent corrosion. It turned them that gold color. Nowadays on restorations, most of them are painted. Fiberglass fenders front and rear, The airbox is also molded fiberglass. Why does that bird squawk every time I start filming? Every single time. Shifting on these bikes, it's a 4-speed gearbox, by the way. Shifting really requires your whole leg. There's a very long throw on the shifter. Another interesting thing is you'll notice the clutch is on the crankshaft, whereas a lot of other bikes, the clutch is at the rear of the primary. Extra spark plug hole here in case you wanted to add a compression release. Öhlins shocks on the rear. This monster 64 tooth rear sprocket gives you plenty of low-end grunt on this bad boy. These are CZ forks, which feel quite planted and predictable when riding, and I'm a huge fan of these gaiters that protect the stanchions. These handlebars are factory CZ handlebars, and what's unique about them is that the perches are welded directly to the bars. I believe these are stock CZ levers as well. The bike currently has Excel rims, which is a modern upgrade, but quite an excellent rim manufacturer. And then the tires, of course, are modern as well. They're Michelin Star Crosses, whereas this bike would originally been issued with Barums. Okay, this is one of the best parts of the show where we start the bike up. Let's do it. Okay, petcocks on. 2 petcocks. Choke on. Japanese carburetor. That is a hell of a sound. So cool! What an absolutely lovely bike to pour over. Don Matthews, I'm sure, had an amazing time racing this bike. It's plain to see he knew what he was doing. I know my buddy Al is going to have a ton of fun racing it as well. And we know I had fun riding it because, well, how could you not? Alright folks, with all that said, that's going to wrap it up for episode 19 of A Bike and a Beer. I'll be back next week with episode 20. Whole new bike, whole new beer. You know the drill. Can't wait to see you then. Cheers, everybody.